It's not inspiration, it's more like owning or controlling the gratifying element, or God particle ha. Einstein's equation is another example for the display of inverse symmetry to the supersymmetry potential. That's another big example, but for us it is just another typical formulation of the energy relation, that like 100 billion bug bites has finally taken on a mirror image in the sun. When you think of people crushing through the doors of a Walmart or strip mall on Black Friday, it's similar to what we call semi-formal neutron solids as a human energy emission, millions a second from each one of us reaching the sun and cramming into the seaming or wind divide of what was previously the sun's four wings or sections. TM, are you typing to us from the West Wing? Ha. This is publishable if it's even close to accurate. If it's not accurate, there's a lot of malleable threading. SC. Okay. Enough for tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm still a little uncertain about gamma radiation if you run into any experiments. TM. Thanks, Shane. Talk soon. 20. TM. You can be so depressing. SC. It can seem like that, it's the brush zone, most people collapse back around the thought around that point. TM. So there is a happy part to your logic. I read about the gigantic solar occurrence of July 2012, maybe you're trying to start a new scientifically based religion. SC. No. It's just a description, that's the funny thing. TM. But you seem to have faith in something, I mean you seem happy sometimes. Always confident. SC. Maybe I can imagine the perception of happiness. Yes, confident. I have times when it's shaken, but not that often. You know we're in an energy containment system. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's universal, just our galaxy or solar system. When I learned about that I was shocked a bit, experienced psychological vertigo for a minute. I was writing a description and realized I may have been discovering the overlay of a prison. I remember they called it a criminal vortex years though before that description, which helped. TM. What do you mean, our mind? The way we think or something? SC. There is a certain refraction to the conditioning principle, so yes. It's not necessary, it's a decision to regard a preference for stupidity as the safest place for interpreting everything. Even physics. There are gaps in the logic of everything here. I first noticed it when I started my first business. Window cleaning. I realized that my competition was more concerned with amplification, advertising, than actually doing the work. Just by being consistent, getting better, experimenting with formulas that would impact the reflection of the window after cleaning, rain spot delay, things like that, it did the advertising for me. TM. My mom said you told her that you designed the business you sell for, but didn't own anything. Is that part of this philosophy, not owning something or something, avoiding being rich? SC. No, it's not intentional, the prisoners are motivated by their appetites. They shape-shift according to what you put in front of them. I was busy on something else. A lot of things, mostly this. TM. She said you told her your tour was ranked number 1 of all tours and activities in Honolulu. We laughed. SC. Just in a category of what was then around 500. I wanted to know that people were having a good time, use it for confirmation when I sold to them what I told them would happen would happen. I can't take all of the credit. My greatest innovation was to work out systems other companies had decided would be too difficult, and then design the overlay and let the guides be themselves. That last part was important, more or less let the opportunity of tips act like management, shift preference for those who got more and more over time what were genuine ratings. The name was originally North Shore Beach Bus. That name was stolen a couple years in by a former driver along with a guide because I didn't have any ID, or even a birth certificate when I started. We brought on new guides and drivers and eventually it was renamed after one of the salesmen I had hired and made an early partner. I just wanted to sell something I could be proud of. Once the platform was trained, calibrated, it gave me a chance to work on something else. My tour wasn't an abstract idea, it came from experience. TM. And he owns it now. Not you. SC. You know, there's a danger to amplifying or empowering a subsequent. When I started, I kind of thought that everyone on the street was like me, a willing talent in search of an opportunity. It had never really occurred to me that it was the choice to be there. Like not at the end of a rope, but the end of a long weariness like I was. I took form out there through others, learned the ropes and then eventually built something based on my own past experience, the street sales, but I mean with the North Shore. What I realized over time, I think, was that for them the owners were always somewhere else. Above the street life, they could imagine being the owner but not in the sense that the owner was right next to them. The attitude I think that developed, no matter how distinct the benefits became for them, was that I was here the whole time too. What was different about it, I mean from the gun club and the pub crawls, timeshare opportunities and island tours we started with, was it was something they could be genuinely proud of. Instead of running from customers like after a pub crawl, people would specifically seek them out afterwards to thank them for the recommendation. They began to attach their identity to it. To be that guy, at that point, is just a matter of opportunity. Anyway, there's a danger to amplifying a subsequent if they're drafting to or in precedent. The only thing children of inheritance can't do with the presence of precedent is take credit for the performance. Don't feel bad for me, everything was preparing us for what came next. There's obviously no certainty to my current position, but I'm proud now, I think I can say, of my process, the results, no matter how much at this point they can be confusing. I'm happy in that sense. Street life to me was kind of like a really simplified bluntness for life 101. What is it? I enjoyed those times and enjoyed my progress. They were motivated enough to be good at what they did, they just lacked an originating capacity for platforming content. It couldn't have happened without my current distraction. I was more or less happy someone was still running with it. It's an outdoor or surface prism. They allow the population to manage themselves. Their appetites, I mean. I don't believe much in destiny, but I do believe am experiencing one. TM. And you're not one of the prisoners. No appetite. SC. Just an inmate, laughing. Yes, I wasn't told a lot. You're in a criminal vortex is the first way to put it. Eventually I was told my death warrant was lifted, and later a description or schematic I think became visible of the containment system. One name they use for it is the Queen's Court. Apparently we're in an energetic containment system that recycles all our energy in a way that nothing, I don't mean people but more like energetic contaminants, can escape. They call our energy of Orient down or black drafting. We're isolated from the expanding systems in outer space. From what I understand, we have a recess perspective of what is actual but from underneath. Maybe if light was bent, or a broadcast image of something external to the circumference like a TV. The waters in front of the Washington Monument or Lincoln Memorial. There's no way to reach it in recess, poor description, but the imaging refers to something real. From what I understand, on either side of our galaxy or solar system there is reverse magnetic polar densities. One is 2/3 larger, one is 1/2 that size, and that one is the amplifier. Time to put in some salmon. Their alignment creates the ballasting procedure for planets, equilibrium masses, but even for an astronaut, ballast but no resistance, in outer space. From what I understand, everything is falling through at once, and what we view in terms of everything is sort of a dispersed alignment. An inside-out process of reductive redistribution where everything's similar and center is a point of view. Not as momentum in the sense of travel, but in every direction we are capable of imagining. Ballasting is a useful term, but the language is primitive. The first thought for description that could be useful is styrofoam packaging material. It's possible Giza and the Bible are designed to produce nothing for someone who is looking for it, but for someone just wandering through, eventually something could come of it, an active engagement of alternating currents, for lack of a better way to put it. It's impossible by momentum to fake the purpose of observation on approach. We could call it the Indiana Jones first principle. In a way, they were designed to be like a violin. It's a finished work but a half-done performance, no matter how typically or inspiring or inerrant. They never intend the messaging for mere attachment, like reverence for a Schweitzer violin. You want to respect the violin, of course, but that is because of its capacity for performance, not for the baseline coalescing of identic attachment found in a policy or motive of strict appreciative adherence. Appreciation for us is implied in the performance, just like memorization. Adherence is putting a Schweitzer on a shelf so that it won't be played. Making Schweitzer, of course, vomit, then roll over in his grave. There is a different energy relation to approaching what you might consider, for whatever reason, a perfect violin, and a violin that was considered inerrant. One approach develops a performance from the user by anticipation, with a goal of bringing form to the potential of the instrument, and then, something beyond. Something that can't be anticipated. The other approach just puts it in a glass case, perhaps under a bed, and the taste of admiration becomes for them the connotative display of performance in recess or waiting, with appreciative adherence, let's say. More or less a reflection, and in our mind an engraven image, because once they know how to measure whatever it is that's perfect, there is a gross anticipation for us to keep producing much the same kind of thing. More but better. The Rosetta Stone, though, of the Gospels and the Pyramid, just like a violin maybe, is a description from the user. That's why it was there in the first place, and a reflection in recess knows what it says, but that expression existed already. When we get to a fourth or fifth generation, the performance attributes have created new violins of perfection in one case, or are still passing down the violins encased with their forefathers' connotative pride in reflection as something different. Distinct. In terms of a civilization, one is eventually buried by the sands of time, one doesn't. That said, test the angels and then this. Is it gratifying, merely inspirational, or is it a continuing source of inspiration? For us and the planets, it's less rolling around on carpet described by Einstein, and more, I think, about energetic ballasting.